Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Last Week in AUCS. This is going to be episode number 8. As always, you guys probably know the drill by now. Let's get straight into the MDL. So for this week in MDL, it was the last week of the regular season, which means finals is just around the corner. So we've only got a couple of matches to show that was played through this week. First and foremost, you see here your Bant's destroying really weird. You got a couple of forward matches as well, really weird, taking it into overtime against Control. Most of these maps played on Mirage and Vertigo, which is kind of okay. It's kind of not okay as well. Vertigo is one of those interesting maps. It's fun to witness sometimes, but also fun to not. And then you got the Mirage as your standard Puggers map. You got, your standard Paradox winning their matches as well. Paradox versus GZ, bit of a rivalry going on at the moment there, it looks like as well. But then you got Rooster as well chiming in for their strong win against PC 419. And then over into the final maps of the matches this week. You got Overpass and Train played here. Mako losing out just to PC49. Then you got Over losing out as well just to Incept. Chiefs take a forfeit win over Avant, who didn't field up the roster on the night of match, and it didn't really matter. It didn't really shake up anything either, as when we go into the ladder, you will see what we are witnessing at the end of the season. So bringing up the ladder from last week, this was the stage where everybody was at. You got Order firmly on top, and Chiefs Avant, that'll form your top 3. You got Rooster, GZ, and Paradox forming the next 3, and then you got Vance and TWA just trickling in at the end. So these are the 8 teams that needed to try and cement themselves into the top 8 moving forward after this week, and they will be happy with the outcome of it as well, because there are no shakeups in the ladder at the result of the end of the season. So these will be the teams going into the top 8 into the finals area. When we do come to it, we will cover those matches as well. So before we go into the LPL, I just want to state that last week's video, I used a white light behind me for these LED strips and it didn't work. So we're going back to the old LPL color of the cyan. So let's get into it. So it was some pretty quick matches played in the LPL on Thursday night. Of course, Conky and myself being the commentators for that. Every week we change up our attire. This week we went for the sort of Men in Black Blues Brothers attire. It was really, really fun. But yeah, the matches that were played, they were quite quick. They were both played on Mirage and a Nuke, with Rooster taking the 2-0 over TWA here that you can see. Kind of a little bit closer. But not too close as well. Rooster firmly positioning themselves at the top of the LPL season so far. There's no real top. It's, they're still in the top bracket, but they'll be that grand final contender. They'll be hungry for it. And then you've also got, your Paradox versus Mako here. Both teams, taking the 2-0, as I just said, but Mako, they looked a little bit loose, a little bit lackluster in their firepower in this matchup against Paradox, considering what we saw against Skyfire last week, the intense long 3 matches played with the overtime thrown in there as well. But that will knock Mako down into the lower bracket. So before we move on over into the next section, we will touch upon just me and you between what's going to happen in the bracket in the next week. So we're going to see Downfall taking on Bants. We're also going to see Control taking on Skyfire. Those are going to be the elimination matches. So if you want to put your little predictions in, I would say that we will probably see Bants beat Downfall and go over to play Mako in the week after. Of course, Mako just losing out to Paradox. And then we'll probably see Skyfire take over Control, which means Skyfire would go over to play the Truckers, who did just lose out to Rooster as well. So my little 2 cents at the predictions for next week. And of course, we now look to finalize up with the matches that were played this week. And if you guys know the colors behind me from the other 7 episodes, you'll know that we're about to get into the ANZ Champs. So let's do it. So to start things off, we did see TWA, the Truckers with Attitude, take on Downfall. It was a 2-1 in favor of the Truckers, with the last one going down to the wire on my favorite map in Overpass, 19-16. Downfall, they are starting to get some good matches under their belts, trying to get some good experience as well. Of course, one of those teams that isn't really too up there in all the Premier Leagues in our region, but I expect them to start to showcase themselves more and peek into those leagues, I'd say in the next season or 2. Then of course, we do move over into Ground 0 versus Rooster, where Rooster did firmly find the 2-1 here. Close map in Mirage for the first one, but then a 16-10 and 16-5 for the final ones, walking all over Ground 0. For the third match here in the ANZ Champs played this week, Avant will take the 1-0 default win over the Generation of Miracles, who could not field a roster to play, unfortunately. And then lastly, a fun match in my eyes. Paradox versus Bance. It does go 2-0 over to a Paradox, but you know, one of them going into overtime. I think Bance will be happy that they did get into overtime, but still upset that they did end up losing out this matchup. So moving forward into the next matches that will be here for the ANZ Champs, we will see Downfall taking on Ground Zero, which will, in my eyes, result in a Ground Zero victory. There would have been Bance versus Generation of Miracles, but you would expect that the Bance would get the 1-0 there by default and move themselves into those lower bracket semi-finals as well. There's going to be no graphics for this bit associated, as you already see. Just me kind of talking out, which means that Bance will be playing the loser of Rooster versus Truckers with Attitude when that happens, and then Paradox versus Avant. Whoever loses that will play the winner of Downfall and Ground Zero. So when that comes out to it, as my phone is kind of buzzing right now, whoops, means something's happening. But yeah, that's going to end out the ANZ Champs here. So that's going to wrap up this video here. Finally did put in a little bit of my predictions as people have been asking. Over the next coming weeks, you know, we'll look at doing the finals for MDL, look at closing out LPL. It'll actually continue on for a little bit longer. You get your ANZ Champs coming to a close as well soon, with the new split happening and all that cool jazz. So until then, next week video, I will see you guys on my Twitch stream, on Twitters, all that good sauce. But yeah, take it easy, guys. Catch ya.